joining us today for the new version of Strides and Paces. I'm Addie, your hostess, and today we have with us our new co-hostess, Miss Trish Robichaud. Trish, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you for this new relationship. I'm pretty excited. It's I've been exposed to radio, internet radio before, but I've not done vlogging, video blogging. I have to even remind myself what vlogging means. But anyway, thank you so much for the warm welcome.
So we're glad to have you, and I'm glad for this new partnership. But I think it'll really help with the reach of the overall point of the project, which is to further the notice of people with disabilities who are doing things to improve their communities and beyond their communities. Particularly, we're focusing going forward on entrepreneurs with disabilities, and I know that you're an entrepreneur yourself, so if you could just start by giving us a little bit of your background, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Sure. Now I got to remember this is a really short show. I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. I have MS, was diagnosed in '93, took my career right off the map. I lost my job as a result. Sued my employer, won. Became empowered as a result. Two lessons I learned from that. One is that when you have a disability, you have to learn how to be a self-advocate. But I knew that there were lots of people out there with disabilities that didn't have the big mouth that God blessed me with. I also have a cup full of diplomacy to go with it. So fortunately, I do have an ability to help make people listen. Okay. And the second lesson I learned was that it didn't have to go down like that in terms of my employment situation. My employer was coming at it from a place of ignorance and fear. Ignorance, they didn't have a clue what it was going to be like to have somebody with a disability in the workplace. And fear, because they were afraid of what it was going to cost them, right? And so they let me go. I moved into a volunteering position from there because I was so sick with the MS that I couldn't work full time anyway for about 8 years. I have gone blind in one eye or the other 6 or 7 times, have been in a wheelchair multiple times, use a walker outside the house, and it's been 30 years now, and I'm grateful I'm still walking. And anyways, self-employment was started in 2003 when my MS stabilized, and started coaching people with disabilities. Next thing you know, I was coaching entrepreneurs with disabilities because I'm a bit of a tech geek myself. And next thing you know, 2007, we started coaching municipalities, training municipalities on how to support people with disabilities at work and in the community. And so we are now actually, after 15 years later, we still coach entrepreneurs with disabilities, but we're now subject matter experts in disability and air travel and disability in the municipal sector. Yes. And that's where it leads me here.
And just a little bit of a shout out, you've been in entrepreneurship for, you told me, 20 years now. You just celebrated your 20th anniversary.
That's right, 20 years. Yeah, it's exciting. Excuse me, dry mouth.
So obviously no one can work 24/7. It's not healthy in any environment, whether you're disabled or not. It's not healthy. So tell us a little bit about what you do when you're not working for personal enjoyment, recreation. That's what it's like.
Wow. My husband and I, we enjoy long drives, especially long drives to places we've never been before. I'm a huge dog lover. And maybe on a future show, you'll get to meet Sadie, my little Jack Russell rat terrier, who is just one big ball of energy. Yeah, and the rest of my time, I putter on small things at home. I'm really addicted to the computer. So even when I'm in my social time and I'm doing personal stuff, it's usually related to technology as well. So yeah, and other than that, just enjoy sitting out, especially now the weather's nice, sitting out on my back deck and enjoying the breeze and overlooking our beautiful backyard that backs onto a wooded ravine. So it's nice.
So having been in entrepreneurship and in coaching other entrepreneurs with disabilities so long, what would you say is the one main piece of, get up and go advice that you give most of people that you're starting your business relationships with?
Get up and go advice. I like the way you put that. Get you motivated, how to get your mojo turned on. You have to find something you love. That's what it is. And you know what? I believe that having a disability is a gift. It has totally been a gift in my life. It gives you a permission slip to recreate your life. Okay. And of course, I'm talking about disabilities that are diagnosed later on. Okay. I'm not talking about something you're born with. But if, all of a sudden, I was 30 years old, pushed out of the workforce, not a clue what I could do with the rest of my life until the MS stabilized. It took about 9 years to stabilize. But at that point, I knew that I had to find a reason to get out of bed or I wasn't gonna. Actually, when I knew that it was time for me to start my own business was when I got to a point where I was following my husband around and telling him how to cut the lawn. I realized I needed something else to focus on. I was like using him as my magnet for the day, and it was not going to be good. Yeah, because I was not the expert in cutting the lawn. No. Yeah, so yeah, that was it. But the mojo thing, it's really about Addie. It's really about finding something you love. I know it can be difficult something to find something you really love, but seriously, working with a coach will help you do that. Okay, find what you love, and once you find what you love, work doesn't feel like work. Work feels like play, and I don't know about anybody else, but I know for me, like the sense of productivity with my work, talking to my clients, seeing their success, seeing them get excited about things, that's what gives me my mojo. um, and then of course my faith. Okay, I'm not at all religious, but I want the viewers to know, our viewers to know, that I'm deeply spiritual, and that's huge. That's huge in my life. Just knowing knowing that I have this resource, this higher power, it sustains me, on the darkest days when it feels like everything's going wrong. And no matter what I touch, something gets broken or something doesn't work or something falls on the floor and I can't pick it up. On those days, I lean on God. I lean, and I use the word God kind of loosely because I believe that everybody's higher power is the same one. We just call he or she something different. So here I am spilling my guts on my spirituality on our first show.
that's, that's okay. It's good to be open from the get-go, so to speak.
Absolutely.
On that note, there is something I would like to add, if you don't mind. You're coming from the perspective of having been diagnosed with your disability later in life. I was born with my disability. For those of you that have not seen my previous shows, I was born premature, which caused the onset of what is called cerebral palsy. And the reason I'm saying this is what you just said about finding the things that you really have a passion for or care about. It's just as important as when you're diagnosed at birth or if you're diagnosed later in life. It really
Totally. I'm glad you added that. Yes, absolutely. Finding something you love in life, you love to do, not only does it make life smoother, there's less chaos. When you find something you really love, seriously, this is going to sound really boohoo, but when you find something you really love, you're in the flow with your higher power. Okay. And when you're in the flow, you're moving with God's will. And so you encounter a lot less barriers. And I've seen it. I know it sounds out there woohoo, but it's true. And I, there's a book, and I got to recommend this book. A gentleman by the name of Stephen Lane Taylor wrote a book called Row, Row, Row Your Boat. Highly recommend it. Really inexpensive. Actually, a really easy read. It's like maybe 120 or 130 pages. And it's all about being attuned to listening to your inner voice and being attuned to that flow that is natural for you, because that's God's path for you. That's why it feels so natural. And when we stick with the flow, things happen overnight in our lives that feel like miracles, because there would be something that we could pray about for months and months and months, or years even. But all of a sudden, when we're in the flow, it just happens overnight. It's one of those instances, and everybody has had this experience where you desperately need something to happen and you don't know exactly what it is. And then all of a sudden, something miraculous, you get a phone call out of the blue and it changes your entire perspective on the world, or it brings some value to you that you desperately needed at that point in time. And those are the rewards of the flow.
My last question really, is there anything that we haven't covered that you would like to discuss?
Oh, we got a long way to go, baby.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Oh. For today, you mean?
Yes.
No, awesome. And just want to say how grateful I am, and to have this opportunity to reach out to Addie's audience with Strides. Very, very excited about that. Love the name, by the way, Strides. It's because it feels, it's like it's an action word. It, like, to me, and it means moving forward. And just so that our audience knows, the Strides and Paces now. Paces is me. My company's called Changing Paces. And I'm very much in tune with Addie's philosophy around strides, because paces literally means, changing paces means not slowing down, but just changing your pace for people with disabilities. And so Strides and Paces, they just feel so right together. I just love it. Strides and Paces.
So a reminder to our audience before we go today, Trish and I will be working together going forward, interviewing other entrepreneurs with disabilities for the new name of this show, Strides and Paces. With that, everyone, thank you for joining us. And remember that disability comes with ability.